Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. In today's video, we are going to be working on Jesus's Skyline. I actually didn't think we were going to be working on it so quickly, mainly because anything Skyline related is very expensive. Jesus and I talked about a game plan for the car, at least in the short term, and what we talked about is that we want to get it mechanically sound and safe. So those things aren't necessarily that expensive because the engine itself seems to run pretty solid. Based on looks alone, I do understand that it actually looks pretty rough, and there are a bunch of little things like the intake piping isn't exactly secured. There's some wiring issues and stuff like that. As Jesus and I were looking through things, it actually wasn't that bad. And one of the biggest things we already did was we actually took off the oil filter relocation kit because initially it was actually zip tied right here. I'm actually very glad we did that because a couple of the lines are not a couple. There's only two lines. Both lines were actually fraying. So that could have been a bad issue and actually caused us to lose this engine. It does turn out that this was a, I guess, Gretty. From what I looked online, I saw some of them say GREX. So I think this was a Gretty oil filter relocation kit. For us right now, it makes no point to run that. We were able to just unscrew it, and I know it's kind of hard to see down there, but put the oil filter back in the stock location. Jesus and I actually took the car around the block. It's insured but not registered yet, so we didn't want to go much further because obviously if the cop sees that, we don't want the car getting like impounded. That would be a nightmare to get back. What ended up happening was these little guys actually, they literally just like fell out. It was literally just plastic welded in place. So as we drove, they just literally fell off. Yeah, the car is definitely the definition of a project, that's for sure. I kind of feel like I'm blabbering a little bit, so we're just going to get on to the topic of today's video, which is the roll cage. We are on the driver's side, and right here is, I guess, the roll bar. I don't even know. It's like a half cage that's been like cut in half. I don't even know how else to describe it. But anyways, right here is the hoop. If we come down here, you can actually see where there was a hook. I'm assuming that hook was actually for the harnesses that this car probably had at one time, since I am like 100% positive this was someone's track car back in Japan. If we come back to the hoop, and actually at the end there's a pipe, but then right over here it just suddenly ends. So yeah, that's a little bit sketchy, and it's honestly really unsafe. I'm a pretty short guy, but I still have concerns with like hitting my head up on that roll bar in the event of an accident. Also, it just wasn't installed very well. It's really sketchy, and I don't really know what they were thinking. Structurally, I don't really see how that's going to help any. I have never removed the interior on a Skyline. I mean, but I figure it's like most other cars. I just want to be careful because again, anything Skyline related costs a lot of money just because it's a Skyline. Plan of attack is get the seats first. So it looks like I got just a few bolts, kind of your standard stuff. Two on the back as well. I'll take out this other seat, the back seat right here. It wasn't even in place, so that should be easy. And then I got to figure out how to take out the center console because I want to take out the carpet. At the minimum, at the very, very minimum, gonna take out the cage and grind it out. I don't know if like I'm necessarily gonna have to weld anything back up just because I don't know what damage is gonna be under there. Thing is, I don't know how to weld. So that's why I want to get this stripped today so I can send my buddy some pictures. I'm gonna pay him, but he's gonna come in on a Saturday and you know, do me a solid by doing that. And he's gonna potentially weld some stuff up, assuming anything needs to be welded up. So we'll see. Now that we got the seats out, we can actually take a little bit better look at the bars, or I guess the part of the roll bar that is under the seat. And it's, yeah, it's something else, man. This wasn't able to latch down like it should have been because of this. So we have the roll bar there, and then this pipe is just extending back and it just stops. It's welded there in place. This car does make me a little bit nervous right now. And the big reason is pretty much every time Jesus and I have gotten some type of vehicle, there's always more issues than we realize. Again, this one we knew was gonna be a project. We didn't expect it to be that bad. Anyways, to bring this back around, what kind of makes me nervous is that like I'm waiting on my Skyline. It's over in Japan right now, and I'm sitting there thinking like, Fred, what if I get this and it's way worse than I thought? I mean, the people I bought it from, they sent me several videos of the car, so like that's actually reassuring, but there's still a part of me that's like, oh my god, oh my gosh, my anxiety is going to be through the roof for the next several months. Up next is actually removing this. I know it's not really secured that well, so we can probably just, okay, not bad. So that was easy enough. I think we're gonna have to take this off, which oh, okay. This is just kind of coming off. Oh, this thing. It just, oh, lordy lord. Yeah, this looks like it's just going to come on out. There's no screws or anything like that that I can see. There's a screw right there that's holding it in place. Give me 30 seconds and I'll have this thing off. All right, I believe that's everything. I don't know why this is staying in place. Oh, Okay, this just pops out of place. That wasn't hooked up. That's okay with me. Quick update, that little center console piece is not coming out. I took out the couple screws on the side. Let me just show you which ones I'm talking about. So on each side, there's a couple screws there and it's loose. I'll deal with that later, mainly because the main goal of today is to try to get pictures of this so I can send it to my buddy. So I'm gonna move these things out of the way. Space is at a bit of a premium, so I'm just gonna throw this stuff off to the side for the time being. I'm pretty sure this seat is just gonna come out because it's not like even bolted in. And yeah, it's starting to come out. It's kind of a tight squeeze, no surprise there because the stupid roll bar. Come on, get out. And whew, it's out. Lower portion of the seat's out. It's a little gross, but it's not bad. Right now, all I want to do is just roll the carpet back, but I'm having some difficulties for pretty much two reasons. I need to take this off. So right here's a bolt, right there's the hook that again was used for the harnesses. My plan is to take both of those off on each side, and I'll come over here and take this trim off on each side. And I think from there, I should just be able to roll the carpet back enough just to see what the heck's going on. I'm a little honestly taken back by it right now because it looks like it was pretty much just like tacked into place. It looks like the plate is just kind of tacked into place and that the piping or the bar, I guess, the base of the hoop is literally just welded to that. That's just a really bad job all the way around. Yeah, and then if we come up here, it's literally has some booger welds there and that's it. The pipe just stops right there. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that the other side's probably the same. We won't do much else today. I also do want to note that my buddy's gonna help me and he's doing me, like I said, a huge favor by helping me out with this because fabrication is not something that I've really ever done. So probably won't film that process just because I don't want to impose on him. But we'll probably pick this up in a few days after we got this all cut out and we'll kind of just pick up from there. Hey guys, it's a few days later and the roll cage is actually already out of the Skyline. But before I show you guys what's left, since we haven't put the interior back together, I want to show you guys some quick B-roll footage. My buddy was actually super nice and let me film the process of him removing the cage out of the car. He started by just cutting out the top portion of the hoop. So he made a cut at one end and then the other. From there, I helped him pull the hoop out of the car. So all that left was the bottom piece. He made a cut so it ended up just like separating both pipes. And then from there, he just grinded away the welds because it really wasn't welded that well. The whole process actually took about just under 3 hours. And he really took his time because we had concerns for two reasons. The first one is it's thin sheet metal. The second thing is there's rust. So we had real concerns that as he was going through this process that he would just end up ripping out the sheet metal. Here is the passenger side, and if you notice, we painted it over real quick. We're just trying to, oh, I can hear Jesus. Jesus just got here. But anyways, we painted it to prevent corrosion because we didn't know where to go necessarily next. This side came out okay. Here, there is some holes. It was really hard to just kind of prevent it all from getting ripped out. Jesus just got here as I showed you guys. So yeah, we're gonna show him how the floor plan is. I already showed them passenger side, which is the best. Right here is actually the worst. This all rusted. It was actually so thin that it started ripping it as he pulled the base plate off, but also right here it was so thin due to the corrosion that when he barely touched it, you can see that it actually like ripped through right here because of the welding and stuff like that, and the fact that it's rusting back here. It actually made a hole here and then over here as well. That's actually the worst of it. What are you thinking?
I mean, I'm glad that it's just a small patch right here. That's the worst of it. It sucks that we have to go through and fix it.
Pretty much whoever kind of just put the cage in didn't do a good job. And also I think the reason why this side over here was so rusty, this car leaks water from literally every orifice. All of the weather sealing is bad. So I think what was happening is the water was getting in and it was pooling up right there. And that's why that corroded so bad in particular. So this whole piece is gonna have to be cut out. So that kind of sucks. But again, we put some paint on there. That's just literally like a temporary fix. My buddy's willing to do some patch panels for us and we can kind of get that figured out. We kind of have two options though. First one is cut this out and then find another car and put like an OEM floor pan in there. That's option number one. Option number two is that we can literally just cut this out and put some sheet metal there. The second option is the cheaper of the two. So, I mean, they're both gonna work. It just kind of depends what you want out of the car.
I think at this, I mean, getting another car is not gonna be easy. So I think at this point, it really just leaves patching it up with like sheet metal or something.
That's actually a very good point. Yeah, because everything Skyline related is super expensive. Yeah, so maybe you're right. Just getting sheet metal might be the best. We could look online, but it's, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could check eBay and Yahoo Auction, but I doubt they're going to be selling something like this.
No, probably not, which is, yeah, kind of cruddy, but yeah, I think you're probably right. Doing that might be the easiest way. But anyways, let's show you guys the roll cage that was taken out of the car. Here is the roll cage that we pulled out of it. It's welded in the middle. We actually realized that over here, it's welded as well. So this was made in like fourths, if that makes sense. Here's one piece, here's the second, third, and then fourth. Here's the base of it. That's not even fully welded on. It's a couple welds there, and then boom. These were actually the pipes that extended back, and you could even see how it's all corroded. Same thing with this end. This is actually the one that was on the driver's side, and this was the worst of the two. I'm actually very, very glad that we had my buddy Grant do this, because he took his time. Again, just under 3 hours. He did everything he could to avoid damaging the floor. Considering the situation, I am beyond happy. One other thing I got to show you guys. So these were the base plates on each side. This one is the passenger side, and the reason I know that is look how that looks at the bottom. Right here is the driver's side, corroded to heck.
I just don't get how in good conscience the driver took this to the track. It's like, if you get into a wreck, like, you'll die.
Yeah, no, that's actually a very good point. I actually think in the event of an accident, this right here probably would have failed. And just imagine getting hit with that bar.
I could not imagine doing that.
Before we put this car back together, I got to show you something, Jesus, which probably isn't the biggest surprise in the world, I'm going to assume. I was really curious about the history of this car, and I was actually going to send the VIN off to try to get some information, because we didn't actually get a auction sheet with it, which I thought was very, very odd. Turns out the car was not sold at an auction. At least that's what the importer told us. This car was in Canada, and if you look here, there's actually some Canadian currency. What I'm thinking happened is this car was probably imported to Canada first. They can get cars sooner than us, so I'm assuming this car right here was imported into Canada first, and then from there it was imported to the United States. And what kind of lends to that theory even more is that the seller, they were actually right next to the Canadian border. Like, we're talking about like 10 minutes away.
No, what's nice though is the fact that it was in Canada, there's still not a whole lot of rust on it. That's a big issue up there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's actually a very good point. So the rust really isn't that bad at all. That's really the worst of it, is actually where they did the horrible, horrible roll cage. Right now, the plan is to put the car back together. We didn't fully disassemble it, so it's not going to be bad. We just have to tuck the carpet back into place. So like along here, I'm going to have to finagle it because it was stuck under this plastic. Other than that, putting the carpet, the center console was being literally held in place by one of like the few bolts that it should actually have. 10 minutes, we should have her back together. The car's put back together. Jesus is gonna pull her out of the garage. We have to kind of clean up a little bit, but we won't record that. Ooh, am I excited? Ooh, the brake lights actually work. We weren't sure if they did. These three work. This one looks a little dim actually. Oh yeah, that sounds really freaking cool. I just realized the reverse lights don't work on this car. That's not a big deal. Now that the interior is back together, I personally think it actually transforms the car, because looking at that ugly roll bar that was in there really janky, but now it looks like just a really clean interior that needs to be cleaned up.
It looks so much better. It's literally night and day.
We're gonna come to the other side. Coming in here, looks really clean. Again, there's some little things. This trim is broken, but that's okay. Oh boy, it looks cool.
You'd be happy with how this turned out. It looks so much nicer now.
Absolutely. I'm actually very, very glad that we got started on this like right away, because I think it set the tone. I think I can speak for both of us when we say that when we got the car, like, or took possession of it, we were definitely disappointed. A lot of things were omitted. That's a good way to put it. A lot of things were omitted. Taking out that roll bar, that's pretty major. We don't got much else for this video. Do you, Sis? Anything?
It's my favorite pile of crap.
It's a really cool car. It is actually really cool. We're very excited about it. So stick around. We got lots more Skyline stuff coming up, and thank you for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video.